Hello everyone, my name is Pacha and welcome to another episode of Tiergarten Edelwald, our new zoo series where we gonna build a very classical zoo heavily inspired by the Tierpark of Schönbrunn, or also called the Zoo Vienna, and we will also include some modern elements, but also very classical architecture, very classical exhibits that are on par with today modern standards, as good as they can be. And today marks a first one in our very young series, because today we will have a diversion from the actual zoo plan of Zoo Vienna, as you should guess, and because this exhibit that we are gonna build today is not existing in the Zoo of Vienna. Today we are gonna build for the Sichuan Takin. I think it is the subspecies that we have in game from the Eurasia Animal Pack of last year, as well as for the MARKHOR that we just got with the new Zookeepers Animal Pack. And I say it's a diversion because, as I said, this exhibit in this form doesn't exist in Vienna Zoo or Schönbrunn Zoo, Schönbrunn Tierpark, you can say it by a lot of names. This exhibit, or the place where our exhibit is in the real world, would be their African elephant exhibit, which is right behind the hoofstock yards that we have been building in the last couple episodes. Basically on the opposite side of the Dik enclosure. They have their house, their African elephants there, but we do something different here, because I don't really like their African elephant habitat. It is not bad by any means, and I definitely think it serves its purpose in the space that they have for it, because the Zoo of Vienna is really not a gigantic zoo, and I still think they could need some more space. It's not the biggest exhibit, especially with how many elephants they have, but it doesn't seem like a bad exhibit at all, and they make the most out of this space. But I really don't like that. If I build a zoo, I want to remake it. Not the perfect zoo by any means, that would be unrealistic, but I still wanna, if I can avoid it, I will do that. And so I decided to swap that out with this exhibit that features hoofstocks from the Asian mountains. And there is actually, just so I thought about it, there is actually, will be a new exhibit for Asian hoofstocks in Vienna Zoo. They are actually at the moment already building it, or when you're watching this video, maybe it's already finished, could be in the future at some point. But this one will feature the Takin, but it will also feature the Himalayan tar, which is another form of Caprian from Central Asia, and not the MARKHOR in this case, but they are building an Asian mountain-inspired habitat there. And I already saw its construction. I think it looked nearly almost finished, and I saw it, and this definitely inspired me in the building this one. But I also took inspiration from Antwerp's exhibit for MARKHOR, which was a tar exhibit at some point, which I saw in one of Just Gordon's wonderful videos. This was one of my inspirations. And then just in general, all kinds of different hoofstock mountain exhibits from Berlin Zoo, Berlin Tierpark, from other zoos that I visited in my past. This is just an amalgamation, is what I was searching for, of all different kinds of inspirations and ideas for my very own design of a mountain hoofstock exhibit, how you want to call it. One of these that I took from Antwerp is this rock wall in the background that kind of creates this fake mountain-esque range that makes it look like there's a lot more mountain in the background, that it's bigger than it actually is. And to be honest, this exhibit is really big. It is as big as 2 of the hoofstock yards combined in terms of raw floor size, of square meter size, but it is very long stretched, which makes it look even bigger. And it's not as deep as you see here, because I have this mountain in the background, which is also present in the real Zoo Vienna, and I really liked it as a backdrop because we have some foliage over there. And this also marks at the moment the end of our zoo on this side. Yeah, this is right. On this side, behind the MARKHOR exhibit, as for now, this zoo will end. This will be the end of it. In the actual Zoo Vienna, there's actually a path going up there. There's more to the zoo up there with wolves, lynx, I think, and then we have their petting zoo area on top of the mountain. Yeah, but from now, for my zoo, this will be one of the endpoints of the zoo in this part, because this is not a big zoo. It is a very old zoo. It's a very classical zoo, but it's not a gigantic zoo. Like Leipzig, for example, or Tierpark Berlin. So this will be the end. Maybe in the future I will decide, depending on how well the zoo goes, to expand the zoo. I already made a kind of slope on this hill, or I will include it in the surrounding park areas. So there's always the option to expand the zoo, but at the moment as it is, this will be one of our endpoints. And for that, I think it was fitting to have this mountain diorama, basically, with the MARKHOR and the TAKIN. And I have to say, I'm really, really happy how everything turned out. You saw it already in the intro cinematic. But from a gameplay perspective, the animals can use almost everything in this exhibit, especially the MARKHOR. Their climbing abilities is fantastic. Frontier did a great job with them, because probably they took most of them from the Alpine Ibex or the Doll Sheep, stuff like that. But yeah, they can climb almost, I would say, 95% of the whole exhibit. The TAKIN is a little bit of a different story, because they are more heavy creatures, they're a bit more stocky, so they have definitely a bit bigger. They have a bit more of a problem with getting around in this exhibit, but they still can get to all different corners. They can go through this mountain archway over here. And you will see that I make heavy use of the faux rocks, and some of you might think, yeah, they are not the best looking rocks, the natural rocks would have been looking better, stuff like that. But yeah, I know that, and there will definitely be some natural rocks later on in this beat build. But what I wanted to achieve with this build is this kind of artificial look. I wanted, because this is not a new exhibit, it's not like they have built that in the last 5 years or something. This exhibit already has a bit of history behind it. It is not super old, like, for example, the Hoof Yards, but it is a very older exhibit. That means that the quality of the faux rocks isn't as good as it is today, where we can, in real life, can have basically have rocks that look, fake rocks that look like their real counterparts, so that you in-game could basically just use the real rocks and say they are faux rocks. You get what I mean. This one is a little bit of older exhibit, as zoo nerds that know a bit about zoo history can probably could probably tell me more about what age or era this one was built in, where we went for this more natural look, but still we had a lot to figure out about how we recreate nature. It's definitely inspired by Hagenbeck's technique of having exhibits without bars, without cages. Hagenbeck, for the people who don't know, probably most people know, was the director of the Zoo of Hamburg, and he famously invented the concept of having these panorama exhibits where you can see multiple exhibits behind each other, but he also invented the technique of having exhibits that don't require visible barriers, basically, for the animals to be kept in, be it via modes or via water modes and stuff like that. So that he could recreate these natural scenes in his zoo that looked like the animals could escape, but they were still contained, and this is something we do also here. We have a bit of a mode in front, of course, and we use hot wire to further secure this mode so that the animals don't jump out. And I think the mode could have been deeper and wider, because goats, of course, are known for jumping and climbing, so it might not be the most secure, but it looks fantastic in the end. And maybe this was because this was an older exhibit, so they didn't really know or try or trusted on the ability of these animals and thought, yeah, this would be safe. And nowadays it's hard to totally refurbish the whole exhibit and make it more secure. But it hasn't been not a lot of incidents in the recent past, stuff like that. So they just keep it as it is until, don't break it if it works, you know, and that is how we get to this exhibit. Of course, because it is based on the elephant exhibit in the real zoo, which also has this mode and no visible big barriers apart from some concrete pillars. I took basically most of the layout and exhibit idea from the elephant yard and just added, as you can see, a ton of rocks here to create this mountain landscape, which should be try to recreate the areas these animals are found in. And speaking of the animal fountain, I know this mix may sound a little bit weird, but I know also Sparrow, the amazing Sparrow who made my logo for the zoo, made a similar exhibit or made a similar mix of it for an exhibit in one of the recent videos. So gonna check that out if you haven't already. She's an amazing, incredible creator. And I already also did some research and I found some examples where you would have MARKHOR and TAKIN mixed. And if you're just wondering at the moment and saying, why would it be weird? Because there are both Asian ungulates, both Asian caprin and found in mountains. That is because they are not found in the same area of Asia. The MARKHOR comes from more Central Asia, from Pakistan, India, stuff like that, in their mountain ranges. It's also it has a similar mountain range to the I think Siberian or the Asian ibex, and the TAKIN of course comes from the Himalayan mountains and would have a closer range together with, for example, the Himalayan tar, which is another caprin I mentioned earlier. So they're both from Asia, but different parts of Asia. Not terrible far away, but still that far away that people could say, okay, yeah, you're mixing two different habitats here, two different regions here. But I also thought about mixing the MARKHOR with the Alpine Ibex, because as I said, the MARKHOR shares its range with the Asian Ibex, and they are basically just a subspecies of the Alpine Ibex. But then I thought, hey, I did this MARKHOR exhibit on this MARKHOR, because we didn't have a MARKHOR. I did this TAKIN exhibit back when the Eurasia Pack launched. And if you're from my community, if you know my community, if you have been in my community for a while, then you know that this TAKIN exhibit that I did back then, which was inspired by I don't know I forgot the name already, but by an American zoo, that this MARKHOR exhibit is a bit of a running, not MARKHOR, I say MARKHOR all the time, I mean TAKIN, that this TAKIN exhibit is a bit of a running gag in my community, because at the point of launching or of publicizing that exhibit or this video for that TAKIN exhibit, it was my most negative reviewed exhibits that I have ever done in my career as a YouTuber. It has had the most dislikes for whatever reason. I don't know. I still don't know why that happened, but it had the most dislikes of all of my videos, and I still don't know why that happened. And maybe you can tell me, because I really haven't figured out that. But I wanted to give it a second chance. it kind of scarred me and in doing anything for the TAKIN again. But the TAKIN is an amazing animal. It looks fantastic in Planet Zoo. And I wanted to give it a shot again. I wanted to build for it again. Of course, it doesn't fit in Raven Creek. It doesn't fit in Wajah Mila. And when would I have ever have the chance to build for the TAKIN again? And so I thought, okay, now I have the chance. Now we have the MARKHOR from the new animal pack. Now I want to include them in a build with them and just build an amazing mountain range. And I have to say, looking at the end result, it really looks cool. It maybe isn't what I initially envisioned with all of it, but from what it is now, it really looks amazing. So I gave it another chance, and hey, we will see. Maybe this time the TAKIN gets its chance, and it will not be my most disliked video. We will see. We can only hope. But yeah, talking a little bit about the future plans for this area, you see that there is nothing on the left side at the moment here on the screen, and there's also nothing on the right side. And if I will spoil this now for you, there will not be a backstage area in this video for this build, because then the time or the amount, the length of this video would have been basically doubled if I also just had to build a fully interior build for them, and that will be pushed to a future episode. So similar to the Hoofstock yards, we will do the backstage in a future date. But what I wanted to say is that there will be more exhibits to the left and to the right. To the left, we will have an exhibit for the adorable red panda in a future episode, which will basically also be based on the elephant yard, or taking in elements from the elephant yard, and will conclude in a red panda exhibit that we have there. And on the right, we will have an exhibit for the palace cat, because in that space there would that is now left here and that you see in the background, there would be the elephant house, of course, to keep the elephants. But since we don't have elephants, we don't need that much of space, so we are left with a little bit of space here, and we will fill that with an exhibit for the adorable palace cat, also from the Zookeeper Animal Pack. And then we have this mini area for Asian animals, mountain animals from Asia. I also thought about including the snow leopard, but I decided against it. Maybe there's still a chance in the future, because I also plan a small big cat area, and maybe there I will include them, because the zoo is not like modern zoos. It's themed around, or it's not mainly themed around regions or stuff like that. It is just, I don't know if I can say something, it's a clusterfuck. It's a clusterfuck of, we have this cool species, let's just throw it in there, because we have the space for it. And we want to get more exciting species talking of the past, so we just buy animals and we just throw them in wherever they fit. In recent times, the zoo tried to order these animals a little bit more. For example, in the central yard, we have a lot of African animals, and here we have now this Asian area, but it doesn't mean that all Asian animals will be in one area, for example, but that we will have them throughout the whole zoo if they fit. For example, the snow leopard also fits with big cats, so we can have them in an area where we have most of our big cats housed, for example. And this is when I want to go with here. I don't want to be restricted by, I have now the South American area, so all I can do is use South American animals. No, I just maybe I build 2 exhibits for South American animals, but then next to it there will be an Australian section or a European section, because this is how real world zoos, really old world zoos grew. They just had a bunch of myriad of different animals, sometimes rarely sorted by any theme. Sometimes they just went wild and throw everything in that they had at that time in one place, and it was, you had donkeys next to zebras, you had, a bad example, you had donkeys next to elephants, next to tigers, next to sea lions, and there was no real theme or idea behind it. Just, we have these animals, we want to present them, here they are. And this is what I also want to kind of recreate with this zoo. But enough of my future plans. We are now in the planting phase of the zoo, and we don't do a lot of planting. We have a lot of planting in the background, but the exhibit itself doesn't have a lot of grass or stuff like that, because these animals would graze them. We have some grass here and there, but mainly it will be dirt and rocks, just like most of from what I've seen, real world exhibits for these animals look like. Very plain, very barren, because they eat everything. So this is what I do, but I still wanted to throw in some foliage here and there, especially on the sides, so that that it doesn't look too boring, for example, basically. But anyway, I will leave you now with the rest of the speed build and some nice music, and then I will see you at the end of the speed build with our real-time part, where we look at the whole exhibit in its totality. So let's take a look at what we've done in this episode with our Highland Asian ungulate section or Asian section over here, because I mean, there's nothing here on this side yet, just the access point for the keepers, which will also be the backstage at some point. But let's look at what we've done in this episode, not what we'll do in future episodes. And we start over here at, one of these sides. You can do either side. But they all have these little roundabouts, these little inlets over here, so you can get an even closer look onto the incredible animals, for example, the Sichuan takin over here. And you can also get a nicer look into the mode to see how they are separated. But when you're standing in front of here, you don't really notice it all that much, which I think is really nice. And I just have to say, I really love how this one turned out, and the real depth it has, the length it has, that you can see the animals back there in the background, and you can go there and take a closer look. And as I said, they can use almost 90% of this exhibit with all the rocks and stuff like that. They can climb over everything. Of course, we have our goat mountain enrichment over here, that we also have one on the other side. And I used it twice because it really looks cool. It fits in with the high elevation, and I think this is one of the points I wanted to achieve with this exhibit, that you have this elevation, you have this depth, that you can basically look up to the animals. You see them wandering around in the background over here, so it looks deeper than it actually is. There we have our male, behind this tree, maybe you can see him. Yeah, there's our male MARKHOR with its incredible horns. Really like them. I know the model is not the most perfect one, but for what it's worth, it looks incredible. And then we have our big archway here, which separates, basically makes it as a two-part habitat, with the bigger side on this side, with the bigger part on this side. And then we have a smaller side on this one, which will also then conclude in the future red panda exhibit. I don't turn around, or I turn around because there's nothing here yet. There will be one in the future, but I really wanted to build this exhibit now. And hey, we are lucky. They're doing the animation. Hopefully everything goes right. They had a little bit of some weird glitches in the past, but yeah, amazing. Really love that exhibit. Really love that enrichment piece. It really adds to these animals and makes them look so much cooler. As I said, this fence will not stay forever. There will be more mountains, basically more rock faces over here, and then this will conclude on this side into the red panda exhibit. For now, I just placed the fence here so that they don't escape constantly, because if I know anything about the animals in Planet Zoo, that is, if there is an escape point, they will use it, they will go for it in a beeline. So I had to place this fence over here, which doesn't make it look good, but it's only temporary, so I'm fine with that. But yeah, really like it. It really feels, mountainous. It feels a little bit more Asian, with a lot of the trees and stuff like that, with the dead trees and all the rock faces. It feels almost a little bit almost different from the rest of the zoo, which is very European focused. It looks very European, and then you have this mountain area, which has a totally different vibe. And this is basically everything for now. As I said, there will be more to come in the future episodes, and I think the next episode will also focus on these future expansions. So we will finish this little area first before we go to different places. And just to a quick note, they can also go on this arch over here. They can go on this one. Really cool what the animals can do in this game. But yeah, this will be everything for this episode, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, maybe consider leaving a like. If you haven't already, maybe even subscribe to the channel. And then I would say I hope I see you in the next episode, and that until then, you stay safe, you have a great time, and bye bye everyone.